What's going on, guys? It's Pierre Andrews, and today I'm going to show you how to get really big synth drop with really lush pads. Something kind of like this.
It was just you and me against the world. It was just you and me. It was just.
Alright, look at that. I'm pushing the computer to the max here. Okay, so this song is called Against the World, which you can find on my EP All or Nothing on Spotify. I'm going to leave links in the description. Also, before I get started, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell button, and also follow me on Instagram at Pierre_Andrews. That way I can get, you can stay up to date with everything I got going on. Okay, here we go. The first thing I do when I create a big synth pad, the first thing you need to do first is have a decent knowledge of theory to help you make this a lot easier. So this key, unfortunately, is a harder key because there's a lot of flats in it, but the key is D flat, or D flat major. Yeah, it's in D flat major, and but we can apply this to any key. The goal first is I first find my main synth sound, and there's a lot of layers here, but I'll play the main synth sound that I've got here. Okay, so, and then the second time it does the same thing. Sorry. So it kind of just has a slight different ending, but other than that, it's pretty much the same chords. It's just different voicing. So the first thing I do is figure out my chord progression. That's the first step that you should do. Once you figure out your chord progression, you want to make sure you're creating very open chords, okay? So what do I mean by open chords or open voicings? You want them to be kind of spread out across the piano or piano roll, and also make good use of like your inversions. So for example, let's take a look at the first chord. A flat major is the first chord. Root, fifth. So I'm not playing the C that's in the middle. I'm doing the root, the fifth, and then the chord, the C, is actually at the top, and then right below it I'm playing a B flat, which is actually the 9 of A flat. So it's a very open chord, and it's also an extension, so it's a little bit more lush sounding. So you're going to make use of a lot of 9s and a lot of 7 chords. Doing that's going to help your chords sound really huge, and you want to spread them across the piano roll. So like I said, I always like to do fifths at the bottom, and then add my third or my 9 or my 7 at the top. Okay, so the first chord is A flat major, add 9. And then I'm just doing bum 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 ba 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 ba. That's basically what it's doing at the top. We'll talk about the top vocal melody later. First, just worry about your chords, and then you can worry about how you want to voice your chords at the top. We'll talk about that later. So, if the first chord is A flat major 9, the next chord is going to be B flat minor 7. So B flat minor is B flat, D flat, and F. And then the 7 would be A flat. So that's what it sounds like in root position, but like I said, we want to open the chords. So I'm doing the root and fifth. Again, these are all open voicings, and you can see here, right here. This is where the chord starts right here. B flat, F, so root, fifth. The 7 is right here in the middle. And then the third of the chord that I'm not playing at the bottom there is up top. So it's open voicing because one of the notes of the chord is basically up top. But you can tell the pattern here, like I said, the left hand's always playing that fifth at the bottom. The next chord after that is going to be G flat major, add 9. So we go to G flat major, and again, the left hand's going to be playing a lot of the fifths. So if we look here, there's root and fifth, and then so it's root, fifth, ninth, third, which is exactly the same thing as the first chord, like relatively the same. Root, fifth, ninth, third. And then final chord, D flat major, root, fifth, and then it's just a first inversion chord. So root, fifth, third, fifth, root atop. Okay, so once you get your chords figured out and you have them in a good open voicing, then you want to figure out what your top note melody is going to be. So in this case, the best way to do it is to kind of hum a tune on top of your chords that you placed and make that be your top note. So real quickly, I'm just going to mute all bottom notes. So all we're seeing here is just the top line melody. Okay, so that's your top melody. So you basically pick your melody and make sure, the best thing to do is to try to make sure that it belongs for the most part in the chord, and it has the same extensions as the chord that you played. So for example, if my first chord is A flat major add 9, then I'd want my top line, my top melody to incorporate at least one of the notes in that chord to make it sound more harmonious. But again, it's not necessary depending on the style of music you're doing. Okay, that takes care of one layer. After that, the next thing that I do is I just take the root note of my chords, super easy, and you're going to need headphones for this because you won't hear it, but in my synth, in my sub, it just plays the root note of the chord. So if we look at the piano roll, it's just single notes, super easy. Ba-ba-bum. There's a walk down, ba-ba-bum, but it's still A flat, B flat, G flat, D flat, and then repeats. So the sub is just following the chord progression, single notes. That's super easy. So together. Okay, there's that. Now I'm using, just so you know, on pretty much all these I'm using Synth, and I'm using different types, but they're mostly saw type synths. The other thing that I'm using on pretty much all of these is Nicky Romero Kickstart, and I just set it on the quarter note. Even though the kick drum isn't kicking on the quarter note beat, it creates this sort of pumping feeling so that you want to kind of nod your head to the beat, the quarter note, and so it gives it just more energy. All right, the next one, let's see, there's another one. Now, this is where you can get really creative. With the other layers, you want to basically fill the sonic spectrum. So like at this point, I'm going to be picking out single notes of my chord and creating its own melody based on that. So if you hear this, I'm starting here on the root, so it's not, nothing fancy, but it is an octave higher than the sub, so it's just, filling in some more grit. And then here's the root again, and then G flat, and then D flat. So basically, it's the same as the sub, but it's going down instead of up to the next chord, and it's just in a higher frequency spectrum, so it's going to cover more grit. Actually, they're playing the exact same thing. It's just filling out the grit of the root note. Okay, that takes care of those three. Okay, and then let's go to the next one. This is where I use less chords and is filling out a higher end frequency. So I'm doing the third and the fifth on top. Whereas before, with the main synth, I'm doing a different voicing at the top. So when you hear this main synth and this one together, so basically this note that's a little higher is playing a third above what this main synth was doing. Again, though, it's just following the same notes of the chord. I'm just choosing a different voicing. And so when you do a different tone in the sonic spectrum, like this is obviously a higher register, like from a frequency perspective, than this, and on top of that, you change the voicing by using a different note on top. It just creates this huge, sonic sound space. All right, and then let's see what's next. Oh yeah, this is my favorite, the white noise. So I'm using just an instance of Omnisphere, and it's literally white noise, and it pretty much fills up all the spectrum, especially the spectrum way high up there. And you can tell without it, it just makes a huge difference here. Listen, with and without. It brings a lot more energy. All right, and that's pretty much it for my synths. So all together. Oh wait, there's one more. Where the hell is it? There we go. Forgot this guy. Sorry. So because my synths are so dry here for the most part, I wanted something to have a little bit of a tail, and I wanted to use a real instrument. I'm using, well, a real instrument, a virtual instrument. That's Vienna Instruments organ. And I'm, made sure to put a lot of reverb on there. And I put some distortion on it with Soundtoys Radiator. But it definitely adds a little bit of depth. And that's tucked back there in the mix, but it definitely adds a little bit of that sweet tail at the end. In context, here's the whole thing. Check it out.
It was just you and me against the.
Jeez.
It was just you and me against the world. It was just you and me. It was just you.
My computer is, I should have frozen some tracks, but you get the idea. Sorry about that, guys. I think that kind of covers it. If you guys have any other questions, on like how I made the sounds, all that good stuff, comment, shoot me a message, all that good stuff. All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.